with the steepest path, then you have to calculate the change in elevation. So the contour interval is 20, which makes this one 480, 500, up to 600. So 480 from 600 is 120. Anybody figure that out any differently?
Actually, I did.
Okay, what'd you do?
Okay, I get the contour lines, but actually when I thought about it, the furthest distance for some reason is what I looked at. So since 480 was furthest away, I don't know, somehow in my mind that registered as having to go further, I don't know.
Or
What
being
is the
steeper.
first distance?
Because it's the Y is, it would have been 480 feet, so they had to go further. Right, so I'm saying that, but it worked.
Further which direction though again?
See, so I was, but, because, you know, like the 480 mark and the 500, they're about as wide as the the W spot. So it's kind of misleading.
Oh,
You
I
mean
see
the
what you
distance
mean.
from X to W and the distance from X to Y?
I guess, right,
The
we're
first
talking about
two
how the-
layers where Y is going up.
yeah, like right here,
Oh.
the lines, well, it's kind of just as wide as those two, so I guess it was kind of so for some reason in my mind, I'm
Here.
thinking they have to
Follow it
go.
all
You
the
know,
way
that's
around though. Go
That's a
up, go
good
up to the
point.
dot camera. Go up to the dot camera because you can't get up to the top. Now go to W and follow either one of those faces, okay, around. Now, is that the same size?
No, so right here, yeah, right here it's getting
Mhm.
steeper.
So, yeah, but you were right. You
I was
said that
figuring
Y-
the
Yeah,
furthest-
basically,
They had to go, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, and
It's just kind of,
let me
yeah.
show, but think about this, it's asking about the path that they took. So it's not just about how close those contour lines are from each other. So from this contour line to that one is about the same distance as that one to that one. However, the path that they took was not directly up the hill, it was at an angle. So they're walking kind of with the curve of the hill. So the path they took, their change in elevation from point W to that next contour line has a longer horizontal difference for that 20-meter rise in elevation. So their path was it's like if you're, instead of walking straight up a mountain, you walk in circles up. So your rise is much slower.
Okay.
You have more steps to cover less elevation difference.
well, because it said family with the steepest. So based on the lines that are closer together, that eliminates W, it would have to be Y.
Correct. Got it. Okay. Next, number 26, we're up to 2015. The satellite photo below shows San Francisco, California, which has many miles of coastline and an inland bay. Which area of the coastline has most likely experienced the greatest effect of erosion from waves over hundreds of years? So I see my picture, the Pacific Ocean, the inland bay. Which area of the coastline has most likely experienced the greatest effect of erosion from waves over hundreds of years?
Area S.
Okay, why are you saying area S?
Because the waves from the ocean had created that inland bay where the waves have created the inland bay, which is the land has been broken up from,
It's the only one that's being affected by
Waves.
the waves of the ocean. The other ones are inside the bay.
Not the only one. That too.
Yeah, the picture is not real good, but listen, imagine a straight coastline. Erosion is what removes things or moves things around. So what has been changed the most from a straighter coastline? So S, right?
So the white part's part of the ocean too, it's not a delta.
Yeah, I think it, I think so. I think this is just, yeah, sediments to be over there.
I was thinking it was a cut.
So what I did is I kind of went from here to here, and went, oh, this chunk is missing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's a coastline missing right there. So that would be an effect of erosion.
Draw the coastline, like run your hand on the coastline.
See, it should
Yeah,
keep
there's
going
a-
straight
and then-
down
yeah,
instead
And
of.
then like that.
Okay, so that's, okay.
So what
Just
they're
make sure.
saying is that this area right here has been eroded away.
And it'll continue to erode.
I'm just one
Okay, one more, guys, one more, let's go. The student stands at the point marked X on the topographic map below. What height in meters must the student climb in order to reach the top of the hill? So we've got point X and the top of the hill. What height in meters must the student climb in order to reach the top of the hill? How do we do this?
Notably access, we stop at the
So what is the question asking us to do?
Figure out the topographic, or the level at which X.
I like what you said, what?
Find the difference between the
And-
elevations
So the difference in elevation between X
and
and
Y.
that triangle, the delta, okay? So that's a different way of asking that, isn't it?
So you just find X and then subtract the two.
Yes. Okay, so how do you do this?
You've got to count your between your index lines. How many
Well, it
lines?
starts at 0, each interval is 10, so
Yeah.
it's increasing from the bottom,
I didn't do that, I looked at the dark lines.
so it was
Every
50.
other dark line was 100.
Yeah.
Yes. Every other dark line is
So then I
100,
went from one dark line to the next one over, and that was 100, 200,
okay?
and then I knew it was 53.
So this one is 50, right here,
That's, well, I started there, that was 0 for me.
okay.
And then I
So-
went,
But this one is at elevation of 50.
true, that's not
Okay.
how I did though.
And then the elevation of this one is 303.
So is this a matter of students
Well, that's fine.
not understanding the map
It's
itself,
come to the
or is
same
it a matter
answer.
of the student not understanding the question?
Come to the
I think this was a little bit confusing. What height in meters must the student climb in order to reach the top of the hill? It was phrased a little differently than the other ones. They're not doing them at the same time, but also that point at the top is not on a line.
And then the other ones, that not all of the lines are like,
Not all of those
even on
lines.
graphs, the kids forget to go back and, they don't have all the numbers on each of the lines,
Right.
they don't fill it in.
And this, all of, we've shown you 3, I think, questions like this, right? Where you have to calculate the elevation differences. Does that properly address fatigue? To use topographic maps and satellite views to predict how weathering and erosion?
I don't think we show mastery.
It's just another
No.
strategy.
It doesn't have enough to show mastery.
No, I think this is a tool,
I know how to
but
get the
I don't think
point.
that hits the T's. Okay, so Agatha got 253. Everybody else get 253? Awesome. Great job, Agatha. You're a winner. Chicken dinner. Are there any questions about your post-test? How did you do on your post-test compared to your pre-test?
The same.
The same. Was it still awesome in the beginning? Okay. Agatha's gonna do some test corrections. Okay,
A test. I have, that's breakfast, A test.
A test
They do that. L test, they were in the shipping channels and I had dollars and put the same standard.
Okay, one more point.
They have to stay white, that wrong.
So, we did the pre-post for a reason. Only you see it, except for Agatha, she was glad you shared hers. So, how did we use the pre-post for you?
To check the.
What, it was a strategy, how was it used for you?
Like a self-evaluation for ourselves.
Okay, so our self-evaluation, did it do anything for you at the beginning of instruction, having taken a pretest?
Yes.
Yeah.
What else, yeah, we're gonna
That's
go
give me the idea.
direction.
Okay, so some idea of maybe where the instruction is going?
What else
Yes.
supposed to learn?
Expectation.
What you should, what every 8th grade student is expected to know? And as adults, supposedly, we're supposed to know these things? What else? What about the discussion afterwards? What did you see? How was the discussion used?
Show different ways of thinking.
Pardon?
Show different ways of thinking.
Showing different ways of thinking. It wasn't just, this is the right answer, did you get it or not, correct your test. It was some insight, tell us what you were thinking when you answered this correctly or when you answered it incorrectly.
Or what we did.
And had different, right, and different ways of thinking.
But I guess it's also what Laura's saying is it probably has nothing to do, because that 7th grade or 8th grade team didn't have to do with evaluating math problems to find elevations yet. They're tested on it. So maybe if you were, knew what you were supposed to teach, that didn't include the math, you needed to include the math. I don't know if that's like.
Well, the TEKS, I think that was what Laura was suggesting, no, actually stating, but subtly so, that the TEKS have nothing in there that would suggest to the teacher they should be teaching the mathematical components of reading
Right,
a
so it's
topo map.
almost like, well, since you took the test yourself, now you know you need to teach that? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like teaching
And it's,
stuff, but.
we look at those lines and you can determine this is a steeper path, that's a shallower path. But this component of just adding that, what is the elevation difference? And getting students into that piece, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time calculate the elevation difference on that. But I am gonna spend time going, just asking them, what is the elevation difference? But my point is that there's a big focus on this elevation difference when that's that much of the TEK. That's not what I interpret as the intention of the TEK.
Right.
Is for students to be able to calculate the elevation difference between 2 points on the topographic map.
And then the bottom line is also how we use any kind of test sign, whether it's release STAAR or whatever, the kind of discussion that we should be having with our students into their thinking. We've got to know what students are thinking. Why did you answer this way? I had an honors biology class that we had this discussion after a test, and it was about chemical bonds, and I said, well, can you explain to me what you were thinking when you answered it incorrectly? She said, well, it wasn't blue, because in the textbook, they had the active bond or something blue. And so because I had a black and white test, it wasn't blue, and so she answered it incorrectly. So you never know what students are thinking if you don't ask them.
I didn't realize that they use actual photos. I thought everything was a diagram. Because if I were a kid looking at this and I hadn't been taught that, I would be like, I don't know, it's a brown spot with, I wouldn't be able to.
Well, these are poorer qualities, they are better.
But I didn't realize that they
Actual
used
STAAR has
actual-
better quality.
And also didn't realize I could pull some science questions as my math warm-ups.
Oh, well, isn't that nice that we can do that and mix it up?
I didn't think of that.
Oh,
until
think of
math.
that, that's right. Okay, any other questions? Now you can do your planning. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is good.
Yes.